Good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. The Kuala Lumpur High Court was told today that $681 million was deposited into Datuk Seri Najib Razak's personal accounts at AmBank in early 2013. During the 1MDB Tenor corruption trial, Bank Negara Malaysia analyst Adam Arif Muhammad Roslan testified about the money trail that led to the huge sum of money being deposited into the accounts of the former Prime Minister.
Adam Arif, the prosecution's 47th witness to take the stand, testified that money belonging to the 1MDB unit had flowed through companies owned by Eric Tan Kim Loong before reaching Najib's Islamic account. Prosecutors have previously contended that Tenor is owned by Tan, an alleged close associate of Joe Low. Referring to a 76-page money trail report he had prepared, Adam Arif walked prosecutors through the third phase, the Tenor phase of the 1MDB scandal, which involved the issuance of $3 billion bond by 1MDB through its wholly owned subsidiary 1MDB Global Investment Limited in 2013. Najib had claimed in the past that the transfer was a donation from Saudi royalty, of which $620 million was reportedly returned in 2013.
Malaysia calls on the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) to collaborate with ASEAN to resolve the Rohingya humanitarian crisis. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir said both OIC and ASEAN should press for the de-escalation and end to the violence in Myanmar.
Zamri said both organizations should coordinate humanitarian assistance to all parts of Myanmar without discrimination. According to him, the situation in Myanmar has been exacerbated following the military coup in February 2021, with Malaysia and Bangladesh badly hit as both shelter about 200,000 and 1 million Rohingya refugees respectively. He added that Rohingya Muslims also needed to be provided with assistance to help them develop resilience and self-reliance to prepare for repatriation to Myanmar. He called ASEAN member states to strongly urge the Myanmar government on the importance of safe, voluntary and dignified repatriation of the displaced community. He made the remark during the OIC Contact Group on Rohingya Muslims of Myanmar meeting at the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly.
Meanwhile, the government under the Paddy and Rice Regulatory Division is conducting raids to curb the manipulation in the sale of local white rice. Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu says Putrajaya will take stern action against those selling local white rice above the ceiling price. At the same time, he says the Muda Agricultural Development Authority has begun harvesting more paddy.
Kawasan Mada padinya sedang dituai sekarang ini dan akan di 20% sedang dituai dan akan dikilangkan, insyaAllah beras kita ini akan kembali stabil dalam masa sebulan lagi. Tapi masa sampai sebulan itu kita akan cuba membuat intervensi di mana berlaku kekurangan, kita tampung melalui FAMA dan LPP.
Transport Minister Anthony Loke has ordered the Road Transport Department JPJ to investigate whether the lorry that caused a deadly accident in Putrajaya was overloaded. In the incident, the lorry rammed into 11 vehicles, killing 2 people.
Definitely, it was a very unfortunate accident. The lorry crashed into it, but I will also immediately ask JPJ and APAT to launch an investigation whether that particular lorry was overloading. I think from the side of the pictures, it was clearly it was quite loaded.
In the 10:15 a.m. incident, the lorry involved is believed to have crashed into several vehicles that stopped to make way for a police convoy for the Tour de Langkawi. According to police, the lorry had attempted to change lanes and failed to brake on time, crashing into the vehicles. 2 motorcyclists were confirmed dead at the scene, while other victims are currently receiving treatment at Putrajaya Hospital and Serdang Hospital.
Malaysia aims to reach the target of 1 organ donor per million population soon, up from the current rate of 0.7 per million. But with more than 10,500 patients still on the waiting list for organ transplants, National Transplant Resource Centre's Dr. Hasti Harun addresses some of the public's concerns about becoming an organ donor.
They are feared, they didn't know about the donation after death, and then they are unsure about in terms of a religious perspective whether it is permissible or not, and then in terms of process of donation after death, how it is being done. Is there any mutilation of the body, and is it consent or permission to be taken from whom? With it from family and not, and some of other concern about whether the body will be complete or not after life, and then some of the concern about the process would delay the arrangement of funeral later on. This is some of the reason actually our people from community concerned about.
Dr. Hasti also emphasized on the importance of the family institution when making the decision to become an organ donor.
According to National Transplant Resource data, for the last 5 years, most family refused to give consent because they did not know the wishes of the deceased. So majority are not didn't know what the deceased want. And in Malaysia, our refusal rate for organ donation is 80%. It's quite high. Only less than 20% agree for donation. So our team in the hospital must always ask the family, okay, regardless the status of the patient, okay, regardless whether we didn't know whether he's a registered or not, but we ask. So if the family already knew that is what the deceased want, then it makes process smooth. Then they can make decision. But let's say they didn't know, but it doesn't mean that if they are not a pledger or registered, they cannot donate. The family has the right to choose based on what the family feels right.
Dr. Hasti also urges the public to take a proactive approach towards organ donation by educating themselves and making informed decisions. The focus, he said, is not just on encouraging organ donation, but also ensuring that the correct information reaches potential donors.
So to improve organ donation in Malaysia, we have to look many aspects to make sure that every people in our country that able and have a good knowledge to register as organ donor. Like I said, the challenge is they may not know or they may not be educated well enough to understand about the organ donation. So this has to be focused on our campaign and public campaign and physical campaign and reach out to the people in the street or in the community. And not just through the physical campaign, through the mainstream medias as well as social medias. Nowadays, we use a lot of social media to reach every level of society and not only specific group of people. I mean, from the young people, from the middle and also elderly group of people, because when it comes to organ donation, it involves the whole institution of the family when we want to get the consent later on.
Dr. Hasti also encourages the public to register as organ donors through the MySejahtera app.
End-stage organ failure is happening every time, every day, every month and so on. So people need transplant to continue their life. And I hope that people need encouragement that if anything that we can help, even after we die, this is the charity that we can give to people. And if you're not afraid, if you're not ready, you can give some time to yourself and do some reading. You can call our center to ask for more information and then can register when you are ready. And from the MySejahtera, you just look at the dashboard. The first dashboard also, there is a organ donor icon, apps there. Then you can click and then you can just notify your next of kin from and then automatically they will notify that you are organ donor pledger. And from this MySejahtera, actually you can modify later on. If let's say you've changed your mind and so on, or you want to, then you will be given like e-donor card from the MySejahtera apps. Yeah, and please just tell the family members again that this is what you want.
We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back.
Budak-budak tim kriket ni ada masalah disiplin kan? Ponting, rosak harta benda, mencuri. Dulu dengan Mega, tapi semua dah berubah dah.
I ask you for an average team, not a trash like this.
India has urged its nationals in Canada and those planning to visit to be cautious as ties between the two nations deteriorated over the murder of a Sikh separatist leader on Canadian soil. The Foreign Ministry in New Delhi issued an updated travel advisory urging its nationals, and especially those studying in Canada, to be cautious because of growing anti-India activities and politically condoned hate crimes.
The two countries are locked in a diplomatic rift after Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau alleged that India was connected to the assassination of Sikh activist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in British Columbia in June. Canada, however, has yet to provide any evidence of India's involvement. Trudeau's announcement was followed by Canada expelling an Indian diplomat in Ottawa. New Delhi responded by dismissing Trudeau's accusation as absurd and motivated, and later expelling a Canadian diplomat in a tit-for-tat move.
Meanwhile, separatist Armenian forces in Nagorno-Karabakh agreed to a Russian proposal for a ceasefire just 24 hours after Azerbaijan began its military offensive that killed dozens. The ceasefire agreement, effective 1 p.m. local time on Wednesday, means the separatist forces will disband and disarm. Talks on the future of the region and the ethnic Armenians would be held on Thursday between authorities from Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijan. On Tuesday, Azerbaijan began what it called an anti-terrorist campaign in the region after some of its troops were killed in what it claimed were attacks from the mountainous region. Nagorno-Karabakh is internationally recognized as Azerbaijani territory, but over 120,000 ethnic Armenians live in the region. Both first went to war in the early 1990s after the fall of the Soviet Union. Then in 2020, where Azerbaijan recaptured areas in and around Nagorno-Karabakh before a truce was agreed. Over in Australia, where extreme weather conditions have triggered over 60 bushfires in the southeast of the country. The situation has been exacerbated by record-breaking temperatures for the month of September. These soaring temperatures have prompted extreme fire warnings in the Greater Sydney area, home to more than 5 million people.
As of Wednesday morning, more than 600 firefighters and emergency personnel were battling 68 fires across the state of New South Wales. Authorities said in their latest update that 17 of those fires had not yet been contained. Sydney was expected to break its September heat record on Wednesday afternoon, but temperatures peaked at 33.8 degrees Celsius. On Tuesday, the Rural State Fire Service issued a total fire ban, including barbecues and campfires, for the city and surrounding areas. The country's Bureau of Meteorology also said an El Niño weather pattern was underway, which would further increase the chances of drought and wildfires.
In other news, Elon Musk's brain transplant startup, Neuralink, said it has received approval from an independent review board to begin recruiting patients for its first human trial. The company is seeking people with paralysis to test its experimental device in a 6-year study.
The study will use a robot to surgically place a brain-computer interface implant in a region of the brain that controls the intention to move. Neuralink says the technology could potentially allow participants to control a computer cursor or keyboard using only their thoughts. Musk has big ambitions for Neuralink, saying the technology could be used to treat conditions such as obesity, autism, depression, and schizophrenia by implanting chip devices. However, Musk's vision has been met with skepticism and ethical concerns from neuroscientists and other experts. The latest development comes after Neuralink received approval for its first human clinical trial in May, at a time when it was also under federal investigation for its animal testing practices. Experts say that even if the technology is proven safe for use in humans, it could still take more than a decade for the startup to gain approval for commercial use.
That's all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Saraya Mia, and we'll see you again.